Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
The Barbados government and foreign creditors in disagreement on how to cut the island's debt. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, May 31st, 2019. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. International media reports are indicating that Barbados's Prime Minister Mia Mottley is butting heads with foreign creditors over how to cut the country's debt burden. The almost year-long negotiations to restructure Barbados's defaulted dollar bonds are said to have reached a stalemate, with Mottley refusing to compromise on debt targets established under the country's agreement with the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Now, according to international business publication Bloomberg, a committee of creditors who holds 55% of outstanding dollar debt say they plan to unanimously reject a government proposal to exchange defaulted bonds for new debt unless the two sides negotiate together. The committee said in a statement that it strongly believes the launch of a unilateral exchange offer by the Barbados government without its support will be highly detrimental to the country's economic stability. The Bloomberg report stated that both sides agree Barbados needs to cut debt levels, but they are not in agreement about how much of the burden should be borne by the creditors in the form of deep haircuts or other terms. Last year, the Barbados government estimated that debt had ballooned to about 175% of GDP, making it one of the world's most indebted countries. And Prime Minister Mia Mottley says she will not compromise on the goal of bringing that ratio down to 60% by 2033. Bloomberg quoted her as saying in a written response to questions that creditors can decide whether that is achieved through a par deal with long tenors and low interest rates or face value haircuts with shorter tenors and high interest rates. The creditors committee, which is made up of long-term investors, regional central banks, individual bondholders, and financial institutions, reportedly put forward an offer 2 weeks ago that would have allowed the government to reach its debt target a year later than it wants. But White Oak Advisory, which is representing the government in negotiations, said the offer fails to meet IMF tests for debt sustainability. The Financial Services Ministry in the Cayman Islands is dismissing the territory's inclusion on the corporate tax haven list. The index published by UK-based independent tax evasion group Tax Justice Network rates countries on how helpful they are to companies trying to avoid taxes, and Cayman Islands has been ranked at number 3. But the ministry insists that the country's tax neutrality is often misunderstood and politicized overseas, but the Cayman Islands adheres to international standards against tax evasion and other financial crimes. General Secretary of the Dominica Public Service Union, Thomas Letang, has instructed public officers to embark on a go-slow to force the Roosevelt-Skerritt administration to negotiate new salaries and other benefits. Now, he said the government was yet to respond to its salary proposal, and he regards that as a form of disrespect to the union. The DPSU is seeking a 10% salary increase over the period 2018 to 2021. A few weeks ago, the union called its members to a meeting to address salary issues and other working conditions in the public service. It advised its members to wear yellow and orange shirts to work every Friday. Now, Letang said that form of protest action will continue, but the union is upgrading its protest action. Starting Friday, members embarked on a go slow, reducing their working input by 60%. And Letang said the DPSU executive will meet on June 6th to review the situation.
We are giving the government of Dominica up to June 11th to meet our demands, to call us to.
Deputy Prime Minister Reginald Austrie is accusing the union head of harboring political ambitions by calling the strike action, and he urged public servants to ignore the call. Now, speaking on local radio, he said Letang was continuing to push a political agenda in support of the main opposition United Workers' Party, the UWP, and he says that agenda is to remove the ruling Dominica Labour Party, the DLP, from office.
They cannot do it, as I've said before, based on the performance of this government. They cannot do it based on the good things that the government is doing for this country, but they're trying to see if they can muster public support to cause mayhem, to cause violence, to cause disruption, and to cause problems within the country. And people must see Mr. Letang for what he is, not in the interest of public officers, not in the interest of the development of the country, but in his own personal, petty, political interest.
That was Deputy Prime Minister of Dominica, Reginald Austrie. The Antigua and Barbuda government is hoping the High Court will bring about a resolution in the matter in which two telecommunication providers are fighting sharing the island's spectrum with the state-owned Antigua Public Utilities Authority, the APUA. The matter began in the High Court on Thursday with the government responding to the lawsuit filed by the Irish-owned telecommunications company Digicel and Flow. The government wants the two foreign companies to share the digital spectrum space equally with APNU, and Prime Minister Gaston Brown said they were resisting the move. He insists that his administration would not allow inequality to continue within the industry. Information Minister Melford Nicholas said it is a matter he thinks will be resolved in the interest of all parties.
It is a matter that I think will be resolved in the interest of all parties, and I believe that inviting the courts to have a look at the whole process may well bring some clarity and some finality to the whole process. There is going to be a limited amount of information that I could further provide you, only to indicate that there is going to be that preliminary hearing in the courts today. The government's interest will be represented by Senior Counsel Anthony Astafan and two other members from the legal department, Mrs. Carla Brooks-Harris and Ms. Alicia Asker. In the absence of the Attorney General, I will make the appearance on behalf of the government.
Now, Nicholas says the refusal of the companies to share the spectrum has forced the government's hand. He says the APUA has had over a period of time, they made it known that their interests were not being served because they do not have an equitable share of the spectrum.
The APUA has made it a point of concern that over a period of time, that their interests have not been best served because they do not have an equitable share of the spectrum. The Cabinet has deliberated upon this matter over a considerable period of time, and I think it has got to the point where the rubber has hit the road, so to speak. I think the Cabinet made a determination and did authorize me to put certain measures in place, whereupon those measures were met with some responses from the operators.
Guyana's President David Granger says his administration is on a mission to eradicate homelessness before leaving office. More from Newsroom Guyana's Bibi Katoon.
President David Granger on Friday outlined that his administration is working to build strong communities during its time in office. During his first visit to Prospect and Perseverance housing schemes on the east bank of Demerara, the head of state said Through the Ministry of Communities, he is trying to abolish destitution before he leaves office.
I would like to leave office, because I ain't left it for just now. I would like to leave office where there's not a single homeless Guyanese. Every Guyanese would have a roof over his or her head.
The coalition government is in its 4th year in office. Guyanese are expected to go to the polls within the next year, where it will be determined if the coalition continue its rule for another 5 years. The president said the building of homes will also generate jobs. He urged newly appointed Minister with responsibility for housing, Annette Ferguson, and officials of the Central Housing and Planning Authority to ensure that residents have access to water, electricity, and other amenities.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. Coming up, Amnesty International has questions about the registration of Venezuelans in Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us. More news after this.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Amnesty International has written an open letter to Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, in which it says that while it welcomes the government's plans to register Venezuelans, it wants assurances that confidential information received will not fall into the hands of the Venezuelan government. The letter, dated May 28th, was written by Amnesty International America's Director Erica Guevara Rosas. Government's 2-week process of registering Venezuelan migrants in Trinidad and Tobago began Thursday, but Amnesty International said it has questions regarding the process. One of those concerns is the 2-week duration of the registration. Amnesty said that based on the United Nations approximation that there are between 40,000 and 60,000 Venezuelans in TNT at the moment, the May 31st to June 14th period may be too short to register such a large number of potential applicants. It also said it wants further information about what will happen to those migrants and refugees that are unable or to or choose not to register during that time frame. Former Jamaica Prime Minister P.J. Patterson has urged Caribbean countries to maintain a unified position on the political situation in Venezuela. Opposition forces in Caracas, backed by the United States and several other Western countries, are seeking to remove President Nicolas Maduro from office. Speaking at the launch of his book, My Political Journey, at the Sagico School of Business at the UWI campus on Thursday night, Patterson said fragmentation would be suicidal amidst concerns that the 15-member grouping remains divided on the situation in the South American country.
The Caribbean, we at the OS are 14 nations strong. we have the voting power. Once we assert it as a single bloc to protect and safeguard our sovereign control, the Caribbean will prevail. We live in our own Caribbean space, not in anybody else's backyard.
Patterson stressed that it is only through unity that the Caribbean will successfully tackle its challenges.
In all we seek to do, I regard the pursuit of a common foreign policy as fundamental. It wasn't put in the Chaguaramas Treaty by accident. It was because we recognize this as vital for us as small states of limited means and might. It is the only way to preserve our sovereignty and collective strength through the fundamental principles of international law and to preserve our territorial integrity. Fragmentation is suicidal.
Regional and international stars come together to raise awareness about the dangers of plastic pollution, and young men from around the region vie for the title of Mr. Caribbean 2019. We get the details in this week's Newsline Entertainment.
It was fun, ended prematurely, but it's fine.
It was really good. It was a really good vibe. I got here from about 4-ish.
Stephanie Paul is one of the first beneficiaries of work, Women Organized for Real Kindness. The non-profit organization's mission is to exercise tangible acts of kindness. In Stephanie's case, members raised funds to present Ms. Paul with a new refrigerator for her home. Founder and the director of work, Catherine Charles, says that the group's purpose is to support and motivate women.
In related news, following the release of Country for Sale, Buju Banton's first track since being released from prison, the artist and his team are reportedly already looking to release an album within the next 3 months. Country for Sale shot to the top of the iTunes reggae chart, where it dislodged Coffee's Toast, and it has since been earning rave reviews from Buju Banton fans globally.
Welcome to this Friday's sports segment. Veteran Chris Gayle smashed a 33-ball 50 as West Indies demolished Pakistan by 7 wickets to make a winning start to their World Cup campaign on Friday. Now asked to chase a paltry 106 at Trent Bridge after the Windies Pacers ousted Pakistan for 105 off 21.4 overs. Fast bowler O'Shane Thomas claimed 4 for 27. Captain Jason Holder picked up 3 for 42 and Andre Russell snared 2 for 4. They bowled fast and short, leaving Fakhar Zaman and Baba Azam, who each scored 22 as 2 of the only 4 players to reach double figures.
Heavy skies. That's why they put the square leg back for Fakhar Zaman, but it doesn't matter. Finger goes up, 1 down. Got him. He is sharper than you think, Andre Russell.
Whoa, look at that ball. Has he done it again? He has.
It's edged, it's flown. Well, the catches in this World Cup to start things off have been brilliant. And the shout of catch it as well. What's it come off?
The clear spike when the ball is next to the glove. You need to reverse your decision. You're on screen now. Make the signal.
Goes short, it's in the air. Chris Gayle moves like a cat around the slips. Pitches it up, it's been short all day, and finally the full-length delivery.
Should be another one. Sheldon Cottrell will take this comfortably. Catch it, another short one does the business. It's short, short and shorter. That's a good strike. Very good strike from Wahab. That's gone a long way. Wahab Riaz strikes a mean ball. That is the end of that.
And West Indies completed the uncomplicated run chase in the 14th over with left-hander Nicholas Puran swatting left-arm seamer Wahab Riaz over mid-wicket for 6 to end the contest. Puran ended unbeaten on 34 from just 19 balls, but it was Gayle with exactly 50 of 34 balls who set the tone, ensuring there were no hiccups in pursuit of the small total. Let's take a look at the highlights of the West Indies runs chase.
West Indies, on the other hand, would be quite happy. Just take Pakistan on. That's gone. Will do the distance. Smacked it. Absolutely nailed it this time. That's gone in the air and 6 again. Hafiz, can he get there? Can he catch this? It's taken.
Heaving and power batting from Chris Gayle, who's dominated proceedings. He's gone to 50.
Top edge with a fielder underneath.
Got a wicket, he has. He deserves it. He's got a third. And that's a good thump down the ground. What about that?
That will be the end of the game. A resounding blow by a hugely talented Nicholas Puran.
West Indies' next World Cup assignment will be against Australia on June 6th. Meanwhile, Windies captain Jason Holder said the aggression displayed in the match was a blueprint of the type of cricket his side hoped to produce going forward in the World Cup.
I said before, we just want to remain aggressive. I think every single team in the competition is going to be looking to pick up wickets throughout the entire innings. It's been a common trend. If you don't get wickets continuously going throughout the innings, you're going to struggle to contain teams at the very back end. So it's something you have to do. Whether it be through wrist spin, which is a way a lot of teams have gone, or whether it be through good fast bowling, which is the direction which we've been going in.
And despite Friday's convincing victory, Holder said the West Indies, who are rated underdogs in the World Cup, would remain grounded, especially with such a long way to go in the tournament.
Not thinking too far ahead. We've got Australia in the next encounter. As I said to the guys, we've got a long tournament here. It's just a matter for us to take it game by game. I'm not getting ahead of myself. We just want to be consistent. The only thing we can focus on and control is cricket. We've got 3 departments to make sure we're clinical in terms of our batting, bowling, and fielding. And I just want us to be the best we can in terms of performing the roles for the team.
Switching sports now, the Cayman Islands senior men's football squad looked to break a near 9-year international losing streak on Wednesday in their first of 2 international friendlies versus Cuba. Now, the second clash kicks off at 8 p.m. on Friday. And as Cayman 27's Jordan Arminis reports, the home side was up for the task.
After a 5-0 loss away to Cuba back in September, Cayman would look to exact revenge and break a decade-long streak of international futility Wednesday in their first of 2 international friendlies. A tight first half for both teams. Here's Cayman's Michael Martin taken down just outside the Cuba box. That would create a free kick, but Cayman would squander the opportunity as Martin would sail it over the net. The action would pick up significantly in the second half. Jonah Ebanks makes a move here and fires, deflects off the Cuba defender and over the net. Here's Christopher Reeves looking to get Cayman on the scoreboard. Coming down the wing, he fires strong, but keeper Eliar Pozo makes the diving save. A few substitutes enter the game for assistant coach Ben Pugh. One of them, Romario Dixon, looking to free Anton Nelson here with some nice footwork, but Cuba outpaces the midfielder. Cuba threatening late. Cross comes into Anibal Alvarez. He fires right into the hands of now keeper Shakur Welcome. Late in the second, Cayman's Andre Ruiz gets his pocket pick deep in his own zone. Cuba looking to finish. Ball falls onto the foot of Rolando Abreu. He rings it off the post and Cayman survives a scare. Another chance for Cuba late as Luis Mel Morris whiffs from point-blank range. Cayman's best chance would come late in the second half. Christopher Reeves, all alone, Cuba goalie off his line, but he strikes it wide. This one would end in a 0-0 draw. Here's assistant coach.
And that's sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
I was late for today's shoot, and I have to be honest, it's because my good friends at Mazda dropped off one of these amazing new MX-5s. And wow, what a machine. It totally connects with my DNA. Sports car, top down, I mean, what a machine. I'll tell you, go drive one. It might make you late for a lot of things, too. So we're here back in Denver. We're here at my good friend Mike Boston's place, Elevation Motors, here in Lakewood. And I have to tell you, Mike and Andreas are great friends.
So if you is a real one and a sight that I'm gonna make you know as I should. Now wait till you're gone, Jesse Royal, the lion.
Pase lo que pase, no te voy a llamar. Ya yo me quité, tú nunca me vas a amar.
Again, the major developments of this day, Barbados government and foreign creditors disagree on how to cut the island's debt. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to CaribVision.com. We'll be back here again from Monday. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good night.